when you hear that somebody fires 18 rounds into a car, doesn't that suggest some sort of revenge?
Well, it's certainly, we certainly need to find out why. I mean, we can use all those words, Allison, and they could very well be appropriate. But why they fired 18 rounds, that's something that we need to find out. That's a lot of rounds to be fired at a car that certainly had no rounds being fired back. There was no gun in that car. Trying to find a reason why they stopped, and there was no warrant. That's what we were told originally. They had a warrant. They were trying to effect an arrest. That simply just wasn't true. Yeah. So we need to find out why. We need to be able to put those pieces together. That family, that town, Jeremy deserves that.
Very quickly, Colonel, I want to put up what we do know about these two deputies who will be charged today, because what's interesting is the last long, well, first of all, he was indicted in 2011 for aggravated rape, but those charges were dropped in 2012 for some reason. He was also named in 5 civil lawsuits, including the use of excessive force still pending. So was his colleague, Greenhouse Dossier, who says also named in 2 civil lawsuits, including use of excessive force. What do you know about these deputies and their past history of possible violence or excessive force?
Well, we certainly know all those things. Whether that pertains to this particular case is something we've got to kind of put aside, because we've got to deal. It's just unfortunate. Those things, if they happen and how they happen and why they happen, are certainly important. But it really speaks to the fact of why did they follow that vehicle? Why did they open fire? That is something that we've got to maintain our presence on and our mindset, because that's what's important to this particular case right here. So I believe as we move forward, those things are going to be important. Maybe the mindset sets that up, but why did this happen at 9:30 on that Tuesday evening? That's something that we've got to put our minds to put piece together.
Yeah,
that's going to be important in this case.
Colonel, thank you so much for being with us. So many questions about what happened here, and we realize that the investigation is ongoing. 2 officers who are now facing charges that resulted in the death of this 6-year-old. But you were clearly very disturbed by what happened. You were willing to already say, you know, in front of cameras, that this was one of the most disturbing things that you've ever said. Why is it you were willing to say that, but you're still very tight-lipped about other circumstances about this investigation at that time?
Well, you're exactly right. You know, as a father, I've been a police officer for 35 years, but as a father, much less head of the state police, it was a disturbing video that I watched, and that really helped move us forward. But I think what's most important too is very compelling, because here's the deal: I've got to deal in facts. What's important to me is what caused those police officers to pursue Mr. Few, what caused them to open fire at that traffic stop itself, because here's the deal. All that aside, you know, Jeremy Moore, at 6 years old, is dead, and we need to find out why. Why would that many gunfire to take place? Mr. Few didn't have a gun. He didn't return fire. There was no warrants. So that's important to us. But I've got to deal in facts. There's a lot of rumors going around. I've got to deal in facts as to what actually caused that. That's what's important to me. But when I saw that tape, I knew that we had to move forward on this deal. But again, and I told my officers, nothing is more important than the integrity of this case. You know, the public allows us to wear this badge right here, and they expect us, they demand us that we do the right thing. So we've got to deal with facts. We've got to deal with applicable state laws, and we've got to deal with exactly what we can find out.
And Colonel, clearly very disturbing. You saw the videotape from the body camera. You just described a very disturbing, but still unclear, the why they pursued the father and why they opened fire. But then, not knowing those things, there was a very quick arrest of those 2 officers and charging them in the deaths of this child. That is very unusual. Why was that step taken? What is different about this case than, say, other police-involved shootings, when an arrest of an officer either doesn't come at all or comes very, you know, many days or even weeks after an investigation is able to be completed? What's different here?
I think what's important here is the facts were there. The compellingness of that tape was simply there. The forensics at the scene itself was simply there. The information we received on all accounts, it was important for us to bring that evidence, to bring that information to a judge, put it down on a piece of paper, let him see that video, and then have him sign that arrest warrant. I think that's important there.
Police body camera footage captured the shooting, and the moment officers realized there was a boy in the car.
I never saw a kid in the car, man.
6-year-old Jeremy Martist, who is autistic, died in the front seat, shot 4 times. His father, Chris Few, was critically wounded. Speaking publicly about that night for the first time today, Mr. Few told the jury officers gave no warning before they opened fire. I had my hands in the air, Few testified. I put my hands out the window. They kept shooting. Several witnesses also told the jury Mr. Few had his hands up, which body camera footage appears to confirm. But Officer Derek Stafford's attorney says he and his partner acted in self-defense after a 2-mile pursuit.
He negligently and intentionally reversed his vehicle in an attempt to hit the officers.
Few admitted to drinking that night but told the jury he would never hit an officer and only wanted to get his son to a caretaker so the boy wouldn't be involved in a possible arrest. The prosecution argues nothing Few did that night justified the deadly response.
Derek Stafford is on trial, and it's just a shame that they want to put the victim on trial.
Stafford and Officer Norris Greenhouse, who also fired shots at the scene and will be tried separately, have pleaded not guilty. The trial continues on Wednesday. Jacob Rascone, NBC News.